Alliance for the Brave, a program that advocates for our active military, veterans, and first responders. Presented by Peer Services Web Design. Alliance for the Brave, serving and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere across America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we bring education, information, and communication to today's veterans, active duty military, American patriots, and especially our medical and our first responders. Man, they do so much for us. So we're here for you. We're here to bring you the very best. And today, I am so thrilled. So this is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy. I would also like to introduce London Mason, my partner, Army Artillery.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
We don't want to fight with the artillery thing, so.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be talking about the big guns on the Navy ship. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, today we've got a big gun in front
Yes,
of
we
you.
do. Yes,
I'd
yes.
like to introduce a great friend, a frequent visitor to our station, Lieutenant General Ray Mason. Ray, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Good morning to you.
Welcome. Yes, sir.
London, Jim, glad to be here. This is awesome.
You are the head of Army Emergency Relief, which is a relief deal that is a donation. It's not actually part of the Army, but it was formed by the Army.
It was.
And you do such an incredible amount for our active duty Army and retired. So General Mason, tell us a little bit about what you guys do, because you are people first oriented. And London, you were talking about how you use them.
Oh, wow.
You're very familiar with them. So General Mason, tell us a little bit about Army Emergency Relief.
Well, Sergeant First Class Retired Mason, that's exactly what AER is all about, right? I always tell people that young soldier that you put your arm around to help them out, AER in this case, might grow up to be the Sergeant Major of the Army someday, right? Somebody's going to be the Sergeant Major of the Army 20 years from now. But anyway, so I'm the director of AER. Jim, you're right. We're kind of part of the Army. We stood up in 1942 by the Chief of Staff of the Army, George C. Marshall, and the mission statement he gave us was to help relieve financial distress on the force. That was true in 1942. It's absolutely true in the year of our Lord, 2021. I've been doing this about 5 years now. I tell people, second best job I ever had in my life. The best was being a battalion commander in the 87.
Wow.
Pretty tough to beat that, but this is right there. So we do loans, grants, and scholarships, and I know we'll get into the details here in a minute.
I think this is so important because a lot of people don't realize also you guys depend on donations.
Correct.
You get donations from the bases, you get donations. So General Mason, what you show is about 90 cents out of every dollar goes to the soldiers. That's pretty amazing because you have how many offices around the world?
We have about 70 offices around the Army. Basically every Army base you go to. AER is located inside of what's called Army Community Service. By the way, let me throw a shout out to my brothers in the other services, brothers and sisters. There's Navy Marine Relief, there's Air Force Relief, and there's Coast Guard Relief, and then we got Army Emergency Relief. So we pretty much cover the battlefront. Those folks in the field, about 220 what we call Army Emergency Relief officers, they're there every day working with soldiers and their families.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. What are some of the things that you do? I know London was talking about, he got his car fixed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Actually, car repair is pretty common, usually one or two at most installations. The second most common thing is rent and deposit on rent. So you come to a new installation, maybe quarters aren't available on post, you got to move off post, or you're going to live off post. Maybe all your pay hasn't kicked in yet, all your entitlements. So you come down to AER, we're going to help you put some money down on a month's rent, maybe a month's deposit, plus you got to open up all those utilities. We can help with some initial furniture, appliances. So PCS, permanent change of station, is a very common thing. We have over 30 different categories of assistance. But one of the things I always tell soldiers and Army families is, look, you go to our website, you look at our categories, whatever you're dealing with, even if it's not listed, still come to AER. We couldn't possibly think of all the things that might you be challenged with on a day-to-day basis, but I approve all exceptions, and in my 5 years, there's not a category or a request that I have turned down as a team. So we're there to help.
Yeah, you guys definitely go out your way to assist. I mean, like I was telling you guys earlier, from going on homegoing services, car repair. I mean, there was a lot of different things that I was able to experience, and I just love the way your employees were able to help us. There was just no limit to the assistance. And soldiers going in, they're very afraid to talk with these people, but you guys you make the soldiers comfortable, and I like that.
Yeah, London, no, you're exactly right. So one of the things we say is asking for help is a sign of strength. Yes, there's stigmas. Yes, people are concerned. When you first join the military, regardless of what service, they train you to be tough. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You can do more than you ever thought. But that is, and that's all true. However, life happens. Life throws you some curves, and you just never know what's going to around the corner. And so when those things do occur, that's what AER is about. By the way, London, you are one of 4 million soldiers that has been helped by AER since our inception in 1942. To the tune of about $2 billion in assistance. And as Jim said, all those dollars were donated. They were donated by soldiers, American citizens, and corporations. 90 cents of every dollar goes right back, which is one of the best of any nonprofit in the United States. And by the way, for the active duty soldiers, for every dollar they donate, we give $3 back in assistance.
Wow.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing thing. But you were also talking about the changes when we were in the out in the green room.
The green room. Yeah, the green room.
We were talking about how you made some major changes, and London was just astonished with what you've done. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're trying to keep up with the 21st century Army. We're trying to be responsive to the needs. I mean, certainly child care has become a very challenging thing, so we do a lot of child care support, spouse employment. A couple things we do with spouse employment. We'll talk about scholarships later on, but we have scholarships for spouses and military children. We also do relicensing and recertification for spouses. Let's say you're stationed in, at Fort Hood, and then you move to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The states have different things. So relicensing, recertification. Let's say you're a nurse. That can be pretty expensive. Let's say you're a soldier. You go over, overseas, Europe or the Pacific, meet the love of your life, want to bring your spouse back to the United States. That can be pretty expensive. Immigration, passport fees. We'll assist with that. And it's all about a strong Army family. It's about strong soldiers. And let me make this point. We are about combat readiness. Yes, this is a very benevolent thing to do, but it also comes down to combat readiness, because if a soldier is distracted by something in their life, and in this case it's finances, probably not focused on their MOS training.
That's right.
13 Bravo, right? They're probably not focused on the unit mission, and if we send them into combat, they're potentially a danger to themselves and their buddies on their left and right, because they're not 100% focused. Mission success is you go into combat, complete the mission, come back home safe to your loved ones. That's mission success. We're a piece of that. The Chief of Staff of the Army, General McConville, has a saying called "People first, winning matters." We're part of that solution set.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a competent team on the ground, and I think that's also one of the things I just want to make a point, because that team building, all that does, not only what AER does, but what the American military leadership teaches being in the military, means that a veteran who comes out is better equipped to work in today's environment, to work and where you have to be adaptable. And AER helps them to be adaptable. So I think that's incredibly important. Year to date, General Mason, your numbers right here are amazing to me. Year to date, you provided $28 million to 15,000 soldiers.
Yeah, we're about a little bit more than halfway through the year. Average year, we do about $70 million for about 40,000 soldiers. It kind of ebbs and flows. But yeah, it's zero interest loans. People say, what's the interest rate we charge? Zero. Or a grant, which a soldier doesn't have to pay back. In fact, London and I were talking earlier, all emergency leave, that is, you have a serious illness or, God forbid, a death back in the family at home, either you or your spouse, 50% of all the costs, plane tickets, train tickets, rental cars, hotels, food, 50% of that's going to be a grant. You're not going to have to pay that back. And the other 50% starts off as a loan, but could become a 100% grant, depending on your individual financial situation.
Wow.
It's the right thing to do for the family. It's the right thing to do for the Army.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. You were also talking about how you have counselors in all of these bases that are counseling these people that come in. Because it may not be just a car repair. It may be something really catastrophic that has happened to them in life.
Yeah, our Army Emergency Relief officers, like I said before, over 200 of them around the Army, they're working every day with soldiers. They're working every day with Army families. But sitting right next to them is also financial counselors. So AER is a little bit like giving a soldier a fish, right? They're going to eat for a day. But sitting right next to them is this financial counselor that's going to teach them to fish. And that's very powerful. And that's life skills. And so as they move down in their career, that really helps them round out. One other thing I wanted to mention, because you talked about, veterans, and as a soldier maybe does their 3 years in the Army and they go do something else, that's great. We have what's called the Soldier Skills Program, which in your last year in the Army, you can learn a professional skill, whether that is diesel mechanic, maybe it's something already related to your Army training, but AER assists with travel costs and things of that in that last year, grant or a loan, and that'll then help ease the soldier, get a soft landing as they come out of the Army, and that is so important. And they also go back to their hometowns, and they're a great advocate for what a great experience they had in the Army.
Without a doubt. And that's what we need. We need people to understand. Because my generation, the Vietnam group, we weren't treated so good when we came home.
Yeah.
And people got a idea of what the military was, but it wasn't what the military was. So part of what you're doing is trying to help those people. And that's the other thing. Nobody stays in the military forever. It's not a 40-year career, right?
I did 35. It was close. But.
Yeah, you did, man. And that is a major accomplishment. Yeah. I'll also make another statement. I've known a number of flag-ranked officers throughout not only my radio show, but my career in the Navy. It takes an exceptional leader to make it to a flag rank.
Well, yeah, it's some luck too, and I tell you what it really is. It's mentors that took care of me. I worked for some magnificent officers and non-commissioned officers. I remember my first platoon sergeant first class, Bill Hicks, who grew up to be a sergeant major. My dad, I told you, did 30 years, 3 tours in Vietnam, World War II, Korea. One of the things he said to me, because he made it up to E6 in World War II and then got a battlefield commission, and he said, look, listen to your NCOs. They're going to take care of you. They're going to train you. And the other thing he said is you take care of your soldiers, they'll take care of you.
That's right.
And it goes back to that team thing you were talking about, Jim. And the Army's built around the squad, and our Sergeant Major of the Army, Sergeant Major Grinston, who's on our board of managers at AER, he says, my squad, take care of my squad. And it's, it's literally and figuratively. And it's that bond that this group of men and women get together in the military, and it is powerful.
That's awesome.
I think one of the things too is that AER has so many things. We've touched on, and most people think, well, you go to AER or the Navy Emergency Relief or whatever because you've got an immediate financial need. But again, what you mentioned, the financial counseling, some of the other things that you guys do is you work and you help them out with homeschooling assistance. I would imagine that a lot of families moving around a lot, homeschooling becomes that much more important.
It does, and it became even more urgent during COVID because a lot of folks, schools were closed, people were doing homeschooling, so we were helping them with, again, with material, whether it was computers, Wi-Fi, high-speed Wi-Fi, what have you, also tutoring in the home. Again, because if you got a happy Army family, you got a happy soldier, and it all kind of goes together. But it's the right thing to do. And so homeschooling and as I said earlier, childcare all became part of it.
All right, we're going to be taking a break in just a minute. I want everybody to take a look at Army Emergency Relief. Whether you served in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Marines, you were supported by these emergency relief organizations. They're all there. If you go to Army Emergency Relief and take a look at their website, it is absolutely amazing of what all is there. There's also a place to donate, correct?
You can donate right on our website, absolutely.
Yeah,
maybe we'll
and
talk
so
about that next.
you want to give back, you want to help people, go to Army Emergency Relief. So we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave. I need to get the show clock up.
So anyway, just,
Yeah, because I thought you said first like that, but that's my mistake. I misunderstood.
that's okay. Well, when we get it started, then we can hear he talks, and then you talk.
Okay.
Where you need to be on the
Did we
mic.
lose that?
You just have to eat the mic.
Yeah, okay. Did we lose the first part of it?
No.
It just wasn't
It
loud enough.
wasn't loud enough.
Okay, I got it.
So, yeah, when you look at London, if you'll just pivot instead of saying this
Right.
is around the microphone.
Gotcha.
you're going.
Okay. You think I would have learned this from last time, huh? I've done AFN, Army Forces Network. radio
Wow.
too.
Oh, that's great. Now, Chris is working on where we can incorporate Skype.
Yeah.
So if during the year, or we may be calling you up saying, hey, we want to do a Christmas program,
Love to do it.
and have you call, you can call in and be right behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty neat. That's amazing, General Mason, that those changes, because I can just remember, I can recall going through those experiences of, having to pay, some of the ticket and all that.
Sure.
That is so much, like you said, it helps.
Got it.
It
Thank
helps
you.
to relieve the stress of the soldier to go in combat,
Yep.
to be able to perform, to be able to do what they need to do to come back, so they're not out there worrying about, well, man, I don't know if the bill's getting paid. That is such an awesome thing. I mean, even during my time, I still thought it was great in either way, but even now, that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal.
And I think a lot of people don't realize, guys, while we're on Facebook, a lot of these young men and women are 17, 18 years old
Yep.
when
Yeah.
they go into the military.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's-
don't have a lot of life experience.
No, they don't. And if they didn't learn those skills at home or in school, which in some cases they don't, they come into the Army and they got a little bit of money in their pocket for the first
Yeah.
time maybe. They're opening up a bank account. They're getting a credit card. They're perhaps buying a car. Maybe they're renting an apartment. These are all new, experiences in their life. And so, again, AER and the financial counselors are there to kind of guide them through what does a contract look like. When you sign that contract, what's that language mean? What are you signing up for? If we get a chance during the live piece, I wouldn't mind talking about one of the challenges out there, and that's called predatory lending.
Let's do that.
Because there's some folks out there that maybe don't have the military's best interest in mind. They have their profit in mind. So we can talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
All right, when we come back, we're going to be on in just about 40 some odd seconds.
Okay. London, where did you do most of your time in the Army?
Oh man.
Obviously, you were at Fort Sill for your training, but
Well, I did a lot. I was in the Army for 25, so I did.
right.
I did a lot.
you did.
I think Fort Hood was probably the longest though.
Mm.
Yeah.
This job I have now is the longest job I ever had in my
Wow.
5 years.
Even including the service.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Army,
Yeah, yeah.
usually 2-3 years is about.
Yeah, you moving
As a
around.
commander, you get 2 years, all too
Well,
short.
Fort Hood, you get locked in
Yeah.
for some reason.
Well, I was kind of a brag guy.
All right, here we go, guys.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Well, welcome back, everyone. My name is London Mason, co-host, and I am with my awesome host, Jim Blythe. And if you have recently just joined us today, we have an awesome guest here with us, Lieutenant General Ray Mason, working with AER. He is, such a phenomenal guy, giving us so much great information. And on the break, General Mason, you began to talk about some predatory lending and things of that nature, and you also kind of mentioned some COVID stuff, but let's hear about that predatory lending.
Well, yeah, outside of almost every military base around the world, you'll find these organizations that are payday loans, they're tax return loans, they're title loans, they're pawn shops, and rent-to-own. I'm not saying that they're all bad, but these organizations, in some cases, lead soldiers and sailors and airmen, Marines down the wrong path. We do zero interest loans. There's a thing called the Military Lending Act, which protects our military members, and our great Congress passed that about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And what that says is if you're a military member and you go into one of those 5 organizations, the most they can charge you on your interest is 36% APR.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the issue is the most common thing a soldier will do is go down and get a $200 loan for 14 days to the next payday.
Yeah.
Well, if they pay it off on the 14th day, they might owe, $15, $20 in interest. But if they don't, they no longer have the full protection of the Military Lending Act. When soldiers don't pay off those payday loans, they can end up paying 300-400% in interest. So we try to guide soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines to come to these relief agencies. By the way, another thing, in our name, Army Emergency Relief, it's a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be at the end of your last straw to come to us. We're trying to get out ahead of the problem too. So look, as I said before, asking for help is a sign of strength. So I encourage our military folks not to go to these organizations, to come to the relief agencies. That's why we exist. It was your money that was donated by your brothers and sisters over the past, in our case, 80 years. It's your money. We're just the stewards of it, and we're going to do the right thing. So I just encourage you to stay away from those predatory lenders.
Yeah.
Boy, let me tell you, I tell everybody to stay away from them, period, whether
Right.
you're military or not.
Yeah.
And there should be laws. There should be laws to shut them down because they hurt a lot of people. And I work in the lending world, and let me tell you, they will foul up your credit, and that will cost you enormously. So, yes, let's talk about it. The other thing that I see a lot of is young men and women get a credit card. You talked about they get a bank account, they get some dollars, they want to go buy a car,
Right.
they're away from home for the first time. And all of a sudden, they get credit cards, and maybe they get deployed, or maybe they're on a long whatever
Training event or something.
training
Yeah.
event, and they miss that credit card, and all of a sudden, man, those credit card companies jump on them like a duck on a June bug.
Yeah. So from AER, just like the other relief agencies, soldiers pay their loans back by an allotment. We don't deal with credit ratings, good or bad. You're not going to get a credit rating from us, but if let's say you miss a payment or something like that, you're not going to get a bad credit rating. We don't deal with that. But the important thing is you're making a commitment to the Army. You're making a commitment to your brothers and sisters, and we're going to make a commitment to you. I mean, when you think about every year in the Army, we bring in about 50 to 60,000 American citizens. And the vast majority of the Army today obviously came in since 9/11, knowing full well that they may have to go into combat and give that last full measure, and yet they do it. It speaks volumes about them individually, but it also speaks volumes about our nation. We have people say, greatest generation. Sure, our folks came from that greatest generation. The latest American citizens serving our military are today's greatest generation.
Yeah.
They raised their right hand, all volunteers. It's a pretty incredible thing.
When we did raise our hand, we never put it down.
That's right.
Yeah.
That oath does not stop the day you walked out.
Hey, General Mason, I got a question for you. So you kind of mentioned a little bit about COVID. So how did your program maybe change a little bit? Oh, well, when we come back,
Sure.
we'll definitely
let's focus on that
do that.
because that is a huge thing because we're going to be faced with things like that in the future as well. And when we also want to come back, I want to come back to some of these new categories of assistance that we touched on before so people joining our program will hear more about them. These are important things that you're doing, not just the typical relief, but there's education, there's certifications, there's homeschooling, there's child care. So when we come back, we're going to dig much deeper into what Army Emergency Relief does to not only help our soldiers, but also there's one for sailors too. Thank goodness for that. So, this is Alliance for the Brave, and we're here with General Ray Mason. Stay with us and come on back. We got a great program. General Mason, again, a lot of people don't know about the scholarship program. So for Facebook people, while we're on, you give out, I couldn't believe the number of scholarships, the number of dollars that you give in scholarship. Tell us, and we'll repeat this on the air, but
Sure.
How many scholarships do you guys give?
Yeah, every year we do about 3,500 to 4,000 scholarships for both military spouses and children, college-bound children, to the tune of anywhere between 12 to 14 million. Last year we did 14 million in scholarships. For spouses, they can apply anytime during the year, and it tends to be more junior spouses, junior enlisted, kind of E3, E4, E5, E6. For the military children, it tends to be a little bit more senior NCOs, because that's who has college-bound children, E6s, E7s, master sergeant. And sometimes you'll get, captains and majors, even a lieutenant colonel that might qualify. It's all needs-based. And but they might have 4 kids in college at the same time, so you can imagine how expensive that is. Relatively simple process to apply. You come onto our website. There's a drop-down menu. You submit the application, and we're constantly awarding the spousal scholarships every month. The children's scholarships we plan towards the fall semester, and we announce that they apply between January and April, and then we put out all the letters in June, July, and then so they can get ready for the fall semester. But we're pretty flexible on that as well.
About how much is your scholarship?
Yeah, so the average child scholarship ends up being about $3,500 to $4,000 a year. Again, not going to get you a full ride, but it's going to help you, and you can apply for other scholarships as well. We're just one of the great organizations that are out there helping young men and women go to college. For spouses, it ends up being somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000, depending. They could do this online. It can be virtual training. They don't have to do it in a brick and mortar university, as long as it's accredited by the American university and colleges. We'll approve it. So,
Nice.
You mentioned earlier it's not as well known as it should be. I did 35 years in the Army, and unfortunately, I didn't really know that AER did scholarships. My wife and I, Patty, sent 2 kids to college. And, they could have applied for AER scholarships.
One of the things I think is fun, that people get to know you, and while we're on Facebook, you were airborne.
Yep, airborne.
I mean, you jumped out of perfectly good airplanes.
Yeah, my back feels it every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got about 120 plus jumps. At Fort Bragg. I also did 2 years in Australia. I jumped with the Australians there. That was a great time. But so I did jump school back when I was a young lieutenant, and then I did 2 tours at Fort Bragg. Did about not quite 8 years at Fort Bragg.
Well, I slid down the rope. I slid down the rope.
Air assault.
That's it. I couldn't jump out of the
You guys are nuts. There ain't no way. I'm a licensed pilot.
Well, look, I had something connected to me, but still,
Well, I ain't.
You can say I jumped out of an airplane, but I probably just fell out of the airplane.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you, I went through ejection seat and jump training in the Navy to be able to fly, and I did. And our drill instructor was a Marine, and he said, "Well, we got a C-130 out there, and we'll take any of you guys who actually want to jump.
Yeah.
We'll have equipment for you." And I looked at him and I said, "You're not big enough, and you're not mean enough to throw me out of a perfectly good airplane." He said, "Don't try me, Blythe."
Well, I did an arrested landing and a catapult launch off an aircraft carrier, so that was pretty cool.
You did an arrested landing in what?
Well, it wasn't a jet. It was a COG, which is a cargo aircraft.
But that takes your breath away.
It does. That ejection. That launch is pretty cool.
Here we go.
Here we go, guys.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at allianceforthebrave.com. And now back to Alliance for the Brave.
And we're back, and we're continuing our conversation with the great Lieutenant General Mason.
Let me bring something up, London. We've got a big event that we're supporting for veterans for the colony on the 5th and 6th of November. You want to go to the colony, take a look at it. Man, they're going to have great music. They're going to have a great Heroes Festival, a salute to veterans, first responders, the Colony 5-Star Complex. I helped them do that a couple of years ago. It's something we support. The Colony Parks and Recreation Department, get a hold of them. And so this is important. Salute to AmericanHeroes.com. We're a big supporter of that, which supports veterans. So now let's go back to the conversation that we were talking about.
Yeah. So we're continuing our conversation again, as I said before. Great information, Jim. Thank you for that. But we're continuing our conversation with General Mason, and on the break, you were telling us in Facebook about the scholarships, how much, how many last year. Can you continue to elaborate on that?
Sure. So we began our scholarship program in the 80s. We took it over from another organization that was folded into AER. And since that time, we've done about 25,000 scholarships.
Wow.
For both spouses and military children. Those are all grants. They don't have to pay them back. The average children's scholarship is about $3,500. That's obviously not going to get you a full ride to the University of Texas, but it every bit helps. The average spouse is about $2,500, and it can, as long as it's an accredited university or college, it could be online. You could be, let's say you want to go to culinary school. That's fine. We'll help you with that. It's about spouse employment is one of the things we're focused on because happy Army family, happy soldier, things all kind of work out that way. And again, it's the right thing to do. It makes our Army more resilient, makes that family resilient, and it actually ends up improving combat readiness.
Wow.
General Mason, I'm very much involved with the Army Scholarship Foundation here in Dallas.
Awesome.
Colonel Jeff Galt, and they've got a big luncheon coming up in November. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Florida emceeing an event for my former fighter squadron.
All right.
But I have had the chance to read many of the applications for scholarships. And what we don't realize is these military children, which you understand this better than anyone, move around to so many different schools, so many different bases, that their education is really multiple. Not only do you get education and you get academics, but you get life education as well. And that's tough sometimes. So these kids need a break. Army Scholarship Foundation, their scholarship is much lower than what you're talking about. But again, you can put several scholarships together.
You can.
And I think this is one of the most important things. Now, if I want to donate strictly to your scholarship foundation, General Mason, can I designate on my donation that I want it to go for scholarship?
You can. You go to our website, and let me just give it to you again. It's www.armyemergencyrelief, and we're a .org, not a .mil, not a .com, .org. You go right there. You'll see it right on the top of our website. It says donate. You click on that, and that'll guide you right through that. You can mail us a check. You can do it by credit card. You can send us beer, whatever you want to send us. We'll, I'm kidding.
Well, now, wait a minute. I'm Navy, so can we send you rum,
Oh, yeah, it's got our rum ration. Yeah, you sure can. You can send the rum ration.
I got to tell you, I've been aboard a British ship when they did rum ration. That was fun. But let's go back, though. This is so important, the Army Emergency Relief. Let's come back and talk about, for our audience that's just now joining us, you've got the Quick Assistance Program. You've got the child care, homeschool, all of these things. One of the things that really grabbed me, though, is the training in the last year that you were talking about. Let's go into a little bit more depth about being able to help guys and girls get out of the military, because it's not a career forever.
Yeah, so it's the Career Skills Program, Army Career Skills Program. The whole idea is, you've committed your time, whether it was 3 years or 20 years, doesn't matter. And in your last year in the Army, you can go do some permissive TDY, either at one of our military bases, or lots of companies around the United States have partnered with the Army and the other services as well. Like I said, you could be an aviation mechanic, a diesel mechanic, go work for Amazon, in their different functions that they have. And so what the Army does is gives you the time to do it, and what we do in the AER is we give you some dollars to help you, whether you need to buy special tools, you need to buy, maybe a suit, maybe to work on your resume, what have you. So we're giving dollars to help them ease their transition into, we call it Soldier for Life now. Once a soldier, always a soldier. That's been a great Marine thing that they've said, but the Army's taken that on as well. And so there's been a big program about that, because we recognize that this is all about making the fabric of our nation stronger. You go back into your community, you had a good experience in the military, you're going to be a great advocate, and you're going to be a better citizen in the long run.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, and I think that's so important. That program, I think is so amazing because when I went aboard the Truman to do a media day, and I flew out in a cod.
There you go.
And I was the only person on that cod with all the rest of the media that had actually been on a cod and flown off and on a carrier before. Yeah. Let me tell you, that was an eye-opener to those folks.
I can imagine.
Sure
Oh,
is.
yeah. One young lady almost didn't keep her lunch down. That was, you know.
Yeah.
So in doing this, this is so important. Education. The military stresses education.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand how much education is stressed in all of our branches of the military.
Yeah, and let me comment about non-commissioned officers, because coming out of Vietnam, you know, our Army was on a razor's edge. The other services as well, we all experienced similar things. And one of the things that all the militaries did was invest in non-commissioned officer education. We stood up the Sergeant Major's Academy. We stood up what back when I used to call was basic non-commissioned training, advanced NCO training. We used to have the E5 training course. All those things was an investment. It does take you out of the unit for a while, but it pays back in dividends. And so it was a commitment to, you know, we are so fortunate in our military in the United States to have an incredible non-commissioned officer corps. I'll just tell you one quick story. When I was at Fort Bragg in the 90s, we had a bunch of Russian generals come visit us, and they spent about a week there and looked at all of our stuff we had. They showed them everything we got when they were going back home to Russia. The one document they wanted to take back with them, I can tell you, it wasn't the airborne SOP. It was the non-commissioned officer's creed, because we are fortunate. Many militaries do not have that professional non-commissioned officer corps that we're blessed with, and that's really what makes our military the best in the world.
Wow.
Without a doubt, and that just brings us down to, if you are a young man or woman and you're thinking about, you're graduating from high school, you're graduating from college, wow, what an opportunity to further, you know, what we don't realize is a few years of real experience that you would have in the military in leadership as well as job skills is amazing.
Yeah, in hindsight, you know, I think I probably would have been better in my early life if I'd come out of high school, gone and spent 3 years in the Army, mature, learned some skills, learned some discipline. You know, I went right to college. I probably didn't spend my time as wisely as I could. Luckily, I met the love of my life, Patty, who got me on the straight and narrow. But I can tell you, service back to your nation is invaluable to you. It's invaluable to the nation, and it does build resiliency. It builds discipline. It builds commitment. It's kind of like John F. Kennedy said, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, and I think that says it all.
Hey, Ray, I got something. So last year, we all experienced COVID, of course. How did your program transition during that time? I know it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people, a lot of the offices, you know, kind of went virtual. People were staying at home, they were quarantining, they were doing social distancing. So at our 70 offices, most of them closed for a period of time. Many of them are open back up now. But so we put in place an online application so a soldier could sit right in their barracks or in their home, go on their phone, go on their computer, submit an application, and we did what was called an electronic funds transfer for the assistance to go straight from our bank directly to the soldier's bank. So kind of contactlessness. Worked very well. Still, you can't discount somebody sitting across the desk from each other talking through the issues they're dealing with. But we keep that in place now, so we have an online application. You can certainly still come in, and like I said, most of the offices are back open. And we put a bunch of programs in place specifically for COVID. As I mentioned, the child care piece. We did support for Reserve and National Guard that couldn't do drill and trying to pay their TRICARE and their other payments, helped with that. So we took a look. Most of our assistance categories are bottom driven up, right? So it's out in the field. They see a need. They contact us and say, like pet transportation. That became a real challenge across the nation, where airlines didn't have all the people they needed, and so it became very expensive to ship a pet. So you're, again, coming from Germany back to the United States. That's going to cost you a couple grand. And so we were helping soldiers and continue to help families shipping their pets. I mean, we all know that pets become a big part
It's
of
quite
the
expensive.
family. It is very expensive.
I think that's absolutely incredible So again, we want people to go to the armyemergencyrelief.org and look at these things, because when you look at the categories of assistance, you're going to see some things there that you're not going to believe. Appliance costs, cranial helmets, child care seats, dental care for dependents, home repair. I mean, how many times have people near bases, those houses are typically older, and I know that's the case, for instance, around our Joint Reserve Base, and so they're going to need some help. Spouse relicensing and recertification. By the way, and speaking of that, there's a tremendous need for truck drivers.
Yep.
And if you have, London, do you remember, or General Mason, there is a designation if you're a heavy equipment driver, a 278 or?
Well, in the Army, it's an 88,
88 Mike,
series.
yeah.
So you could be a light driver, a medium, or heavy vehicle driver, but yeah, that's right.
Well, right now,
We
if
need
you
'em.
were getting out, here's a great thing to do, because there's a tremendous need for truck drivers.
And the training is out there.
It sure is.
And I want to tell you something else, guys, that I made a giant mistake. You talked about a mistake, you going to college. I started at SMU. I was not prepared. I wanted to go into reserve, and both my grandfather and my father were afraid of what Vietnam was going to turn into, which it did. So they did not encourage me to go into the Navy Reserve. If I had gone through boot camp, if I had gone into the military up front, would have made a huge difference. Because let me tell you, I know I went into the military after a year and a half of college. I came out and was a straight A student. Now, the big mistake that I made was I didn't stay in the Navy Reserve. I think that's a huge mistake that a lot of people don't realize the opportunities of staying part of the Army, part of the Navy, by being in the reserve. And you're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to be part of this total team.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of the Army Reserve and Army National Guard and the other services as well. Again, it's an incredible opportunity. It continues your professional education. You continue to build your skill set. Employers value that commitment you've made to the nation, the reserves, and the National Guard. So, and frankly, we're very fortunate to have them. I mean, look at the natural disasters we've had. Look how many Reserve and National Guard were activated for COVID support. They're in every little town and city around the United States. They make up the rich fabric of our nation, and it is a great opportunity and a great career. And I strongly, in fact, most of the Reserve and National Guard teammates came out of active duty, and that's where they recruit them into the Reserve and National Guard. And we could not do, what we've done over the last 20 years of combat, absolutely could not have done that without the Reserve and National Guard. By the way, in my field of logistics, about 85% of all our logistics capability is in the Reserve and National Guard, and so we need them. And they stepped up to the plate and did incredible work in Iraq and Afghanistan and points around the globe.
So when you talk about logistics, would this be the same thing as a Navy Supply Corps officer?
Yeah, very similar. Correct.
Okay, a lot of people think that all jobs in the military are frontline carrying a weapon, right? Without the logistics teams, without what you're talking about, they wouldn't have a weapon to carry. They wouldn't have
bullets,
gas.
right?
Yeah.
Beans and bullets. Yeah.
So there are jobs in the military, in communications, logistics, medical, you name it. People need to take a look at that. So when we come back, we're going to wrap up with Lieutenant General Ray Mason, outstanding American, outstanding guest. This is Alliance for the Brave. We'll be right back after these words from all of our sponsors. Again, take a look at the Colony event. Take a look at AER.org. Make a donation. Pay forward to help our soldiers. This is Alliance for the Brave.
That soldiers help, our motto is soldiers helping soldiers. So a significant amount of our donations come from active duty soldiers.
Really?
Come from retired soldiers. But we also get donations from American citizens and corporations as well. So it comes from all those different sources. But it is the for 80 years, soldiers helping each other out, which is just inspiring.
Well, I really applaud this deal that you're doing on the career skills program, because in the position I've been for the last 6+ years, one of the things we constantly see, and I did a lot of counseling for the Denton County Veterans Court, where a lot of veterans who've gotten in trouble legally go through the Veterans Court, which is a great program, but they're not prepared when they come out.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's programs within the military to transition them out, but they're not prepared. And the more we do to prepare them, the better off we're gonna be. To use those skills, that'd be like a guy having tremendous skills and all of a sudden you don't use them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanical skills. You can work on different kinds of electronic equipment, both in terms of repair but also operating. We've got air traffic controllers in the military, so they can seamlessly go right into the air traffic control with some more training on the civilian side. You know, you said there are literally hundreds of different what we call military occupational
It's just too
specialists.
many. And so many servicemen, just like me, field artillery, you know, you would think, well, what kind of job am I going to get? But the great thing about it is that you have programs like what you have that train you, that can transition those skills into something else, especially if you're a leader, NCO, officer, or what have you. So.
Yeah, but what you did learn, London, is you learned people skills.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you learned how to build a team, how to motivate
Right.
a team.
And that's what I was referring to. Yeah.
And so you've got that foundation that companies are looking for,
Yeah.
which again is understanding people. We're all different. We can't all be treated exactly the same. Different needs, you know, different strokes for different folks, right?
That's right.
And like Sly and the Family Stone song. So that's back in my generation, but, and a little bit before Jim's.
I'd say a little bit after.
Yeah, I was going.
I'm a little bit older than you
I
are.
know you are.
But
I got
say-
my Medicare card the other day. So.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Well,
I'll be 65 next month.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
But
Yeah.
don't you have TRICARE?
I do.
Military?
Yes, but you have to have Medicare as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do have to have both.
That's
Here's
interesting.
another thing that I think is really interesting. You guys, if you go to the military, you can retire. You have a military retirement. You have also paid into Social Security.
Correct.
throughout. So you have a Social Security. So you have a double dip. And you are very eligible for government jobs or other great jobs. So all of a sudden, because I've got a buddy who retired from Raytheon, who is a Navy captain, who is a communications specialist.
Right.
So he's got Social Security, Raytheon, and
Military. Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yep.
Get all you can get.
Get all you can be and all that stuff.
All right.
I would like to talk about some of our medical categories.
Okay, we're going to be real short,
Yep.
buddy.
Okay, well then you tell me what you want me to hit. So.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back. We're back, and we're bringing this program back into the dock, and we've been privileged to speak with the great, awesome guest, Lieutenant General Ray Mason of AER. And before we continue, we want to be able to get you guys to understand on mentioning the Colony event that's on the 5th and 6th of November. Make sure that you guys get out and support. Get out to this event. It's going to be great. We want you to make sure that you guys are doing all that you can for that. Ray, as we're closing out, please share a little bit about the medical information that we were kind of alluding to before coming back.
Before I do that, I don't want to lose this. I want to thank my shipmate here to my left, Jim Blythe, great Navy sailor. My father-in-law served in the Navy in World War II. My father was originally in the Merchant Marines, and my good buddy, battle buddy over
That's
here, London Mason,
Hooah.
first class extraordinary.
Hooah.
Thanks for giving us this opportunity, and to the Alliance for the Brave, the great work that you do. Yeah, so we have a number of specific support we do for families that are struggling with some of the medical things that happen. You mentioned cranial helmets. Child's born, cranial isn't formed correctly. That can be thousands of dollars because you got to change the cranial helmet. That's a full grant. If you need heavy blankets for children with autism, we can help with that. Talked about child car seats earlier. For ramps in your house, whether you live on post or off, you need a special bed, you need a special wheelchair or other motorized kinds of things. We're there to help with all those things for either the military member, the spouse, children, what have you. You know, you're already being challenged with such difficult things in your life, and we're there to help with that. And you can go to your military treatment facility. They know about AER, and they can help there as well. So, you know, one of our sayings is, well, number one is soldiers helping soldiers, and that's really our bedrock, you know, kind of bumper sticker. But it's also just ask is another thing we say. Just ask. You donated these dollars, active duty, retired, American citizens, corporations. These are your dollars. Come to us, and we're going to help you get through those struggles in life.
Again, that's ArmyEmergencyRelief.org. I think you can find similar websites if you served in different parts and branches of the service.
Absolutely.
If you're a patriot, you want to support something, you're always asking me, what should I support? Well, I believe supporting the relief agencies is key. So I'd like to close with a prayer. General Mason, I'd like to pray for our active duty military. So, Lord God, we thank you for our active duty military, and we ask you to protect them and keep them safe. For our veterans as well, who come back and become integral part of our communities, the medical first responders, Lord, we thank you so much for all that these people do to protect America, to protect us, and to be all that they can be. So, Lord God, we thank you, and we praise your holy name. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I think it's important, again, you need to go to www.armyemergencyrelief.org. Take a look. What about, hey, I'm not in the military, but I've got teenage kids. Take a look at some of these things that are available and talk to your own kids about what can you do to make your life better and make your country better. This is a great opportunity. So this is Alliance for the Brave. We're signing off for today, but we'll be right back next week. Thank you for being on board. Thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave, and thank you, General Mason, for being a big part of Alliance for the Brave.
My honor, Jim.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
London,
you.
Great being with
Thank
you.
you.
Cool.
Barely even 18, not sure what lies in store. Small town